As the year 2020 has come and gone, it is normally tradition for us here at Explonate to pick a list of our most anticipated 4X titles due for release over the next following 12 months. However, we're only aware of a few pure 4X games coming in 2021, so this time around our list will be a little bit different. Instead, we'll look at the 4 confirmed 4X games, a couple of confirmed 4X adjacent games, and a 4X game that I think I'm going to go out on a limb and say might be out in some form or another in 2021. So without further ado, first up is Humankind. It's hard not to get really excited about Humankind. First, it's being developed by a veteran 4X developer in Amplitude Studios, who's responsible for the modern classic Endless Legend and the Endless Space games, which are pretty solid, if not quite as excellent as Endless Legend. Furthermore, while we were a bit nervous about the first couple open dev scenarios, those were the limited early access scenarios that Amplitude has been conducting. The latest iteration, dubbed Lucy, which we have a full playthrough on our channel here, is a significant leap forward in both usability and fun. So all of a sudden, many of the folks that have been following Humankind are all abuzz with anticipation and excitement, as many of the issues from the second open dev scenario have been addressed, with more fixes and balancing adjustments to come with plenty of time to do it. They still are almost 4 months out from their April 22nd, 2021 release date after all. Beyond those minor issues, there's not much to dislike about Humankind. I mean, first off, it's absolutely gorgeous. But beyond its beauty, Amplitude are trying many new mechanics, the most obvious which is a fully controllable turn-based combat system, along with a territory system borrowed from Endless Legend. It's also got diplomacy that allows for unique and dynamic interactions between faction leaders, options for fully customizing your own avatar, and changing attire based on the culture you choose, and much more. Speaking of culture, another huge departure from other historical 4X games is Humankind's culture mechanic, wherein you'll choose between 10 separate cultures each time you progress into a new era. This leads to an often strange and fun amalgamation of cultures that will combine over time to become your culture. Altogether, things are looking really good for Amplitude Studios' take on the historical 4X genre. As the studio head, Romain Duaubert, said in our podcast interview with him, the studio was created with the intent of making this game one day, and so we're eager to see how well they can pull it off come April 22nd of this year. Our very educated guess is that they'll be creating some serious competition for the Civilization series and become a genuine contender for the 4X throne. To see more of it, check out our recent Let's Play on this channel. Next up is Distant Worlds 2. We've been waiting a long time to be able to say that the sequel to one of the most popular and well-liked 4X games of all time is finally around the proverbial corner. Just as recently as a couple of weeks ago, Matrix and Slytherin soft announced that Distant Worlds 2 would indeed launch in 2021, with a beta build just weeks away from seeing reality. Did you miss that announcement? Well, that's not really surprising considering they did it on the down low on their Twitter and on a recent stream.
We're going to have another big preview coming in January, which is going to include Distant Worlds 2. We were originally planning for that maybe as a December preview as well, but with a lot of the big console and other releases coming out, the noise created around Christmas, we decided it was better to reveal in January. But I've also got some other big news, which is, we've been in alpha on Distant Worlds 2 for several months now, and that has helped us work out a lot of issues and has helped us inch each month closer to the finish line. And I'm glad to say that we are going to be entering beta in January. So a lot of the folks who may have been waiting for a spot on the beta team, January is not so far away. You will have your chance, and you will get a chance to take a peek if you help us out with the testing at what Distant Worlds 2 is going to be coming your way. And if you're not up for testing, just stay tuned for the stream. We're going to be showing more of the game than we've ever shown before, including actual gameplay footage and some of the final graphics and effects. So I'm very much looking forward to that. And Distant Worlds 2 is going to be a 2021 release.
All right, well, that was a hell of a tease.
Time of this video, not much is actually known about Distant Worlds 2 regarding its gameplay, but from what we can gather, it's not going to be a huge departure from the first game, and that's just fine with us, as most of us really want just a better looking, easier to read Distant Worlds with a better usability and maybe a cleaner user interface. Based on the screenshots we've seen, that's exactly what it looks like they're making. Check out this recent teaser GIF of the scale of which Distant Worlds 2 will encompass. It's very similar to Distant Worlds 1, and it looks so good. Anyway, we're expecting to hear and learn a lot more about Distant Worlds 2 in the early part of this year, and perhaps even really very soon, maybe in the next couple weeks. So be sure to check back on our channel and on our website at www.explominate.co. And as you know, we'll be reporting anything and everything we can on this extremely promising 4X game. In the meantime, you can also check out some of the stuff we've done on our site about some of the previous news announcements for Distant Worlds 2. Next up is Old World, and only in a year where we have a Distant World sequel and a new Amplitude Studios 4X game with a new 4X game by Soren Johnson, the lead designer of the extremely popular Civilization 4, seem like the underdog. Too few people are talking about this 4X meets Crusader Kings mix, and somehow it just may end up being a sleeper hit of this year. As I just mentioned, Old World is what happens when you mix the dynastic gameplay of Paradox's Crusader Kings games with the turn-based empire management of 4X. Not only does your leader age over time, but they eventually die and your heirs end up taking up their reigns. As those characters grow and gain experience through events and training, they develop character traits and archetypes that shape their personality types and skill sets. This leads to some wildly different game sessions as your characters have a direct impact on what happens, based on their reaction to other characters and what traits they embody, and thus allowing for some very different options in the hundreds of different events that take place in the game. It's not just the events and people that make Old World unique either. It's also got a revolutionary order system that has converted movement into its own distinct and important resource. Now you can move your units almost as far as you want to in any given turn, depending on the number of orders you have and the training rate you've accumulated. Training rate allows you to force march a unit after you've run out of orders, thus providing the extra movement you might need to make it to a strategic hex or to make a final push towards an enemy. There's much more to Old World than I've described here, which is exactly why it's on our list here and shouldn't be overlooked despite the surprising competition that it has in 2021. For more on it, you can check out our Let's Plays here again on this channel. Next up, and probably the last pure 4X on our list, is Remnants of the Precursors. So one thing is for certain, Remnants of the Precursors is the cheapest 4X game coming out in 2021, as it's coming in at the ever affordable rate of free, but Remnants of the Precursors defies its price tag and has earned its place on this list among many heavy hitters. If you don't know, Remnants of the Precursors is a Master of Orion remake written in Java, but with a brand new, modern feeling user interface, updated hand-drawn visuals that bring the classic Bulrathi, Sakra, Silence, and all your favorites to life in ways we've never seen before, with many more improvements on top of all that. It's the passion project of Ray Fowler, a man we've had on our podcast a time or two, and his passion seeps through in every aspect of Remnants of the Precursors. Not only are the visuals improved by the talented artist Peter and the creative UI designer Caitlin, but he's also hired a professional writer to add all new flavor text for each of the game's races, adding a whole new level of immersion. The art is magnificent and really goes a long way towards better immersing you into the game. And I could go on and on about how great Remnants of the Precursors is, but honestly, you should already be playing it if you're a 4X fan, or if you liked or loved Master of Orion 1, because it's pretty much a clone of that beloved title, only with some significant upgrades. You can find the link to download it down below. There's also some promising 4X adjacent games that were worthy of your time and attention this year. These games incorporate some of the mechanics and characteristics of 4X games while maybe not adhering to the formula completely. There are many games that fit into this category, but there are a few, in my humble opinion, that are the most promising. First up is Alliance of the Sacred Sons, which is another character-driven strategy game, and it's what you'd get if you'd mix the politics of Frank Herbert's Dune with the gameplay that blends the best of Crusader Kings and Master of Orion. You play as the emperor of an empire comprised of several great houses. Interacting with these houses, manipulating, and playing politics with them and their leaders is where the strategy all comes together. Meanwhile, you'll also be tasked with exploring new worlds, colonizing those new worlds, and doing your best to increase your strength as an empire in preparation for the return of an ancient and deadly enemy, the Zil. Early previews have been very promising, and we're due to check in on Alliance of the Sacred Sons very soon, so stay tuned to this channel for more coverage. Next up is Terra Invicta, and Terra Invicta is from the developers of the ultra-popular Long War mods for XCOM 1 and XCOM 2 from Firaxis. Terra Invicta is developer Pavonis Interactive's, which is formerly Long War Studios, first foray into its own game development. It's part 4X, part grand strategy, but it puts you in the role of one of the 7 factions of Earth that are working in different ways to address a new alien threat. Depending on the faction you control, your approach to that threat is different. Do you endeavor to destroy it at all costs? Do you worship them as gods? Or are you going to negotiate a surrender to avoid humanity's destruction? Either way, you'll be recruiting council members to help you in your mission, researching new technologies, exploring the solar system in its entirety, and learning different ways to exploit it, while battling it out with alien vessels in addition to many more working parts that the game promises to provide. Everything we've seen from this game looks really promising, and the Kickstarter went extremely well, bringing in over 10 times what they requested. We're very excited to see it out in the wild later in 2021. Except me. I kind of went all in on the Kickstarter and backed in at the alpha level, so I'll be playing it in some form very soon. I can't tell you how excited I am. For more on Terra Invicta and its developer Johnny Lumpkin, check out our podcast interview with him at explominate.co. Next up we have Star Dynasties, and I can't believe I'm about to say this again, but here I am about to compare another game to Crusader Kings. Only this time it's much more of an actual one-for-one comparison, as Star Dynasties is exactly what you'd get if you made Crusader Kings 2, only you set it in space. There's a lot to like about Star Dynasties, and it has been improving since it was picked up by Iceberg Interactive earlier this year. They've had 2 closed betas, the most of which was very, very promising. It looks like it could use a bit more direction and some user interface love, but its goal of giving us fun and often absurd story generation surrounding a number of political members and a variety of space-based empires is very much on track. It looks fantastic, and here's some more footage to see what the newest versions look like, and I'll tell you what, it's provided me with a lot of fun gameplay in the betas, and I'm really excited to be able to show it off in the next beta when we can start actually taking footage of it. So stay tuned to this channel for that. Now we have Slipways, which is a part 4X, part puzzle game. Slipways is a strange and lovely resource linking strategy game that clearly borrows from the 4X genre, but adds a lot of unique things to make it very much its own entity. I've been playing a lot of the late alpha build, and I've been really enjoying its gameplay mechanics. The version is an upgraded, Unity-based version of a Pico 8 fan favorite that you can find here or down below actually. Slipways is a difficult game to describe, so I'm going to read off its Steam page, which says, "Turn desolate planets into a vast trade empire, hatch plans, research game-breaking technologies, still be done in time for lunch. Enjoy the endless possibilities of a space grand strategy game in 60 minutes flat." So, in other words, think Star Ruler 2's Planet Connection system, only in a much smaller universe and at a much faster pace, and with a high score to chase. For a bit more, you can check out some of the links below, or you can just, watch this trailer. With all that being said, I'm going to go out on a limb and make one crazy prediction. You can call it a hunch, you can call it an obsession with everything 4X, you can call it crazy, but whatever you call it, just know that when it's announced in 2021 that I called it. With Galactic Civilizations 3 being over 5 years old at this point, and the last expansion being confirmed as the last expansion, I'm willing to bet that Brad Wardell, the CEO of Stardock's openness about the next iteration of Galactic Civilizations in many corners of the internet means that they're very close to announcing it. With that announcement, and with Stardock being so quiet nowadays, I think they're going to have a lot more to show people than we would expect, and we'll probably have something playable, maybe in the same way that Stardock had a Founders Edition for Galactic Civilizations 3, or like, what I'm saying, like an early alpha version. I believe they'll have something like that in 2021. So yeah, those are the games that are slated to come out in 2021 that I think are the most exciting, and I've probably missed a few, so I'm really looking forward to hearing what you guys think and some of the games that I may have missed. So feel free to comment below and let me know what 4X or 4X-like game that you're most excited for in 2021, and let me know if there's any games that I missed that should probably be on this list. Thanks for watching, and until next time guys, keep exploring.